What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This video is specifically geared toward an individual who is just starting out in the trade of carpentry. This is, in my opinion, the hand tools that you will need to acquire for yourself to be as productive as possible. We're talking about entering on sort of the ground level, right? A laborer, something to that effect, an apprentice, whatever you want to call it. My experience was I hired out as a laborer. I was the yes man for everybody else in the crew. Sometimes I was paired with a carpenter and I would be his errand boy, basically. Whatever he needed, I would take care of. Other times I was delegated certain tasks. As time progressed, that responsibility got greater and greater and greater. But for a little while, I was the guy cleaning up, I was the guy cutting, I was the guy running material, I was the guy setting up and breaking down sites, all that stuff. So if you're just getting into this, that's probably where you're going to start out. If you've been offered a position like that and you're going to take it, you've probably been told you need to provide your own hand tools, right? I've put together sort of a pretty comprehensive little assortment of tools here because the problem I can find is that you go into a big box store or you go into a hardware store of some kind and you're trying to get yourself a set of tools to go to work with, and it can become very overwhelming with all these tools on the shelves and so many different brands and kinds of tools, and you're not even sure what you really need.
What the fuck am I supposed to do with that?
Hopefully this video can be of some help to you guys. The first thing we're going to start off with is the hammer.
Feel the steel of my hammer!
Now, I prefer a large framing hammer. This is an S-Twing Sure Strike. It has a hickory handle and a 25-ounce hammerhead on it. It's got a waffle head. It's a great hammer, but it's heavy, very heavy. It's a large hammer. I prefer this style of hammer. It's what I've always used, and I absolutely love it. However, there are other options for you. This is my demo hammer, but this is an all steel. It's one piece, and then it has this rubberized handle, this grip on the bottom, and this really, it also has a waffle head, as you can see. If I can make a recommendation for what it's worth, I would steer maybe toward the 22 ounce framing hammer, just, you know, as a good general all-around hammer. But what you want your hammer to be constructed from is really your preference, right? If you're like me, when I started out, I didn't have two nickels to rub together. I had to borrow money from somebody to buy some hand tools to start a new job. And so I had to be very mindful with what I was choosing. So the hammer, very, very, very important. The next, probably, I don't want to say more important than the hammer, but just as important, is your tape. I prefer the DeWalt. I like this tape. It's just a good tape. It's consistent, it's durable. However, the Stanley Fat Max is also a really, really, really good choice. You can't go wrong with it, and they're very affordable. 25 foot is the general, that's the standard tape length, right, that you're going to find everybody carrying. Some guys have, I don't know, I have a much smaller 16 foot for trim work and stuff like that, but don't concern yourself with multiple tapes and lengths and stuff. 25 foot is what you need. Anything more than that, I think, is unnecessary, and anything less than that, you could potentially be running into some problems if you have to run a long tape for an overall measurement or something like that. So 25 foot, Stanley's a great choice. I love the DeWalt, but just remember, not all tapes are created equal, okay? The third item that's very important, in the beginning, it's really only going to serve you as a straight edge. Let's just be honest, but that's the speed square. This is a great thing if you're handed a cut list and you need to cut boards or whatever to length, to lay this down, draw your line, and cut. You can also use it as sort of a fence to run your saw along. You can put the shoe of the saw right up against this, line your blade up with your mark, and go on, and you'll have nice straight cuts doing it that way. So a speed square, I prefer the Swanson speed square. It's what I've always used. It comes with a little book that will tell you everything you need to know about the speed square, what all of these different values do. It's really quite an incredible tool, and its uses are seemingly endless. It's just, you gotta have it, right? So a speed square. A writing utensil, right? I have two different kinds here. So I prefer a number 2 style pencil, but a lot of guys like the Carpenter pencil. Has a very specific profile. Some guys use these as spacers and decking and all types of stuff. That's a good option as well, but it's really what you prefer. I don't like the way this feels in my hand. It's uncomfortable. I just prefer the number 2 style pencil. You can get either the number 2 style or carpenter style pencils in these 15 packs at Home Depot for a couple bucks. They come with a sharpener, so no reason why you shouldn't have a pencil on you. The marker is great for identifying things if you need to write something on some rough framing, if you're laying out things on subfloor or whatever. There's a lot of uses for this. For putting your initials on your tools, all types of stuff. The marker is really good. I like the Milwaukee Inksol, but a Sharpie works just as well. I find that these get less clogged less quickly with sawdust and other debris than a Sharpie would. Sharpies seem to get gummed up pretty quickly, but a Sharpie will work. Next item, the cat's paw. Now, this has a technical name. I'm not sure what it is, I couldn't tell you, but I've always heard it referred to as a cat's paw. I've had this one for a long time. As you can see, it's had the absolute piss beaten out of it, but great tool, and its uses are many. You can do a lot of different things with this. You can use it for its intended purpose, and that is to remove a nail, right? It's for prying. That's what, these teeth, very similar to the claw on a hammer. It has a claw of its own for pulling things out. Now this one has this eyelet that sticks out, you can see. What that's for is for gaining access to nail heads that have set below the surface of the material. So if you're having trouble getting at something, you could do one of two things. You could pound the shit out of it and get up underneath it, or you can lay this right over top of the nail head, give it a good whack. That will open up a nice void around the nail head for you to get some access to it. Now, theoretically, that's how smooth it should go. 9 times out of 10, you're still going to be fighting with it. It's just the nature of it. But cat's paw, very important tool to have. Next are nail nippers. Now, these have a term here in the Northeast that I'm not going to say on YouTube. I believe electricians have something similar with the exact same name. But in any case, nail nippers, flush nippers, whatever you want to call them, these do exactly what they say they do. They nip nails. So if we have a nail here, and I need to cut that, there you go. Now it's flush. So that's what they're designed to do, but they can cut many different things. They can cut wire, they can cut metal strapping on bundles and stuff like that. So they're very useful to have. Next, screwdrivers. Indispensable tool. Why, you may ask? Well, you're going to find, especially in the home remodeling realm, that you're going to be taking off switch plate covers and outlet covers. You're going to be taking outlets out of the box and the wall, all types of stuff. So having a good Phillips head and good flathead in your belt at all times, very helpful, because as a laborer and as the yes man, you're probably going to be told to go and take every fucking light switch cover off every switch on the first floor, whatever the case may be.
Unfortunately, the trades are stacking a bit.
And having a good screwdriver to do that makes it a lot quicker. Next is a knife. Another very critical thing to have. I prefer the Milwaukee Fastback just because it's, I like this one. As you can see, I've had this one for quite some time now, and it's taken a beating, but it's an awesome tool. And I've never had to replace it, and I've never lost it in all the years that I've had it, and it's great. This isn't the only utility knife out there, but this is my favorite one. You gotta have a knife of some kind. Opening boxes, packaging, cutting strapping, all types of stuff. You gotta have a knife. A chalk box. I don't recommend you get this DeWalt chalk box. I think this one actually is kind of a piece of shit.
Oh, because you're a piece of shit.
As a laborer, are you going to be snapping a lot of lines and doing layouts and things like that? Probably not, especially in the beginning. Having this, being prepared, it's going to put you in a good position to learn something. So, chalk box, very affordable. Like I said, I don't recommend getting the DeWalt ones. This is another instance where not all chalk boxes are created equal. In any case, chalk box. Next up, nail sets. These do what they're named to do. They set nails. Sometimes nails have a really bad habit of working their way up out of the surface of material, and they need to be set back below the surface of the material, or at least flush with it. That's where these come into play. So these get set on top of a nail head and tapped until the nail is pushed back down. Pretty simple, right? But the smaller profile one also works really well as a center punch. Drill bits, as you may or may not know, have a nasty habit, especially on a cordless drill or something like that, really nasty habit of wanting to walk around before they actually bite and start going through the material. If you're able to do a center punch, like so, now you've made a mark for the tip of that drill bit to set into, and you have eliminated the walking of the drill bit, right? So you're trying to get some more accurate holes and stuff, whatever you're trying to do. The nail sets are just really, really helpful. Another thing, putty knife. We don't paint, and we're not doing drywall, but a putty knife is great. You're especially in remodeling and stuff, guys. I can't tell you how many times fasteners and things like that have paint covered over them, and you just need to get it off of there, right, and get access to the fastener or whatever the case may be. I actually use a sharpening stone, and I put just a little bit of an edge on all my putty knives that I carry in my belt, just so they can dig into the material a little bit better and make sort of a cleaner cut. You can cut caulking with it, whatever you got to do. But a putty knife is a great thing to have, very affordable. Stick it in your belt, forget about it until you need it, then you have it. And lastly, we have a set of flat bars. Now these Dasco Pros are, I think the set was about $15 or $16. They came in a set, just as you see. This little one has probably got more use than the others, but these are fantastic for all manner of getting yourself out of a situation. They're good for prying out trim nails. They're good for popping out trim. They're good for popping out baseboard. They're good for all types of things, guys. They're just very, very, very helpful to have. This one may stick up out of your pouch a little bit. As you can see, this one's practically brand new because it would always fall out of my pouch, so I stopped carrying it. But this one has taken a bit of a beating. That fits in the pouch nicely, as well as this one. So these are great little things to have. If you can swing it, it's not a requirement to have these. And with that said, guys, let's go through this with what's not a requirement, right? These are not a requirement. This is not a requirement. This is not a requirement. Nail sets are not a requirement. But I would say the rest is, in my opinion. Now, you don't have to buy the most expensive of everything. If you can buy decent quality stuff, you'll be happier for it. With that said, you're going to be making money. If you need to upgrade your tools down the line, you'll absolutely be in a position to do that. So, take my advice for what it is, guys. Lastly, you need a belt. You need a place to put all this shit. Now, this is a framing rig. It has shoulder straps. It's quite a large, bulky thing. As a laborer, as a new guy on the job, I don't think that you need something anywhere near this large. The problem with something like this is you have a whole lot of pockets and you start finding shit to put in them. Shit that you don't use, shit that you haven't touched in months, you'll find in this thing. What I ended up having to do was like a factory reset every week. I would just dump the fucking thing upside down and get rid of all the bullshit that was in it because it was breaking my back.
Doctor said I need a backiotomy.
The shit I would stuff in these pockets, it became kind of ridiculous. But one thing I do prefer with any belt is for my hammer loop to be on the small of my back. I do not like my hammer whacking me in the back of my knees or hitting me on my kneecap or in the back of my calf. I don't like it. So, but a belt, guys, you need a place to keep all this stuff on you, right, as you're going about. But in any case, guys, I hope that was helpful as far as maybe what to consider when you're just starting out. Now, I do have a couple honorable mentions that we will get to now. All right, honorable mentions. These are by no means a requirement for you to have. These probably are not in your budget right away, but if they are, they're definitely worth picking up because I'll tell you right now, it's great to have your own set of cordless. Your own set of cordless. Now, they don't have to be DeWalt by any means. They can be Ryobi, they can be Bauer, they can be Hercules, they can be Rigid, they can be Bosch, they can be quarter cable, whatever you can afford, but you will have a much more pleasant experience if you have your own set of cordless. Take it from me when I tell you. Now, most companies will have cordless that they provide for their employees. Not all, and that's something that you should probably ask during your interview, right? Or whenever you're speaking with the owner of the company, whatever it is, do you guys provide cordless? Because if they don't, then this is a requirement. But most companies do provide cordless. You know, they have trailers and things like that. But the impact and the drill driver, it's great to have your own set, because I'm telling you right now, my experience, there's a limited number of these in a trailer, that a company trailer. And guys grab these things and they stick them in their pouch and they disappear for the day. And it's nice when you have your own shit with you. Now, like I said, they don't have to be DeWalt, and don't get carried away with the cordless. You don't need your own cordless jigsaw and multi-tool and recip saw and all that stuff. But cordless, a couple batteries, a charger, really a great thing to have if you can fit it into your budget. Like I said, not a requirement, but definitely worth some consideration. Now, there's just a couple things that I want to touch on, sort of briefly, but I think they're important for the up-and-coming carpenter who's just entering the trade and may not know what to expect. There's a few pieces of insight that have served me well over the years and served many people I know well. These aren't things that I came up with. These are things that were shared with me by individuals who had a lot more experience than I do when I was just coming into this thing. And these were things that were shared with me that really helped me along. And so I figured I would share them with you, and hopefully they can help you as well. Okay, so I just wanted to end the video with a couple keynotes, things that were shared with me when I was first starting out from guys that had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and they saw a young guy, I was young at one point, who was really motivated to do a good job but didn't really know how to do that good job. So for those of you who are just starting out, getting into this field, it's a great way to make a living. You'll make a ton of money. You'll have a lot of fun doing it. But there's a few guidelines to follow that will help you be successful at that. Hopefully, some of these help you to achieve that. The first one being early is on time. I know that sounds like a simple concept. However, it's easier said than done. It's very easy to become complacent in a job after you've been there for a little while. You see guys that you work with, others on the crew that are showing up 10, 20, 30 minutes late to a job. If they're getting away with it, why can't I? Don't be that guy, right? The sign-up time is 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8, whatever the case may be. Do your very best to get there 10 to 15 minutes before that. It gives you a buffer for your drive, your commute, for unexpected things that may come up. And if nothing else, it gives you that time when you get to the job to sort of mentally prepare yourself, get your head in the game for the day. So early is on time. The next piece of advice that I have for you is repeat directions, and when necessary, ask for clarification. If a task is being delegated to you, it's very important that you repeat that back to whoever is giving you that task. It does a couple things. By verbalizing it, you're reaffirming in your own memory what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And secondly, it tells the guy who just gave you that task that you have some sense of understanding about what it is that he's asking you to do. Gives a little bit of confidence to that individual that he can trust you a little bit to do what he's asking you to do. Now, asking for clarification when necessary can be a very humbling thing to admit that you don't know something. But what's even more humbling is when you lean on your own understanding and royally fuck something up.
I say Geneva, you hear Helsinki?
And now you have to explain yourself and you look like a fool. You're frustrated with yourself. The rest of the day is a fucking wash because you're so in your head now because of that mistake you made, when that mistake could have been avoided if you had just simply asked for clarification about what exactly it is that they are asking you to do. So, repeat directions, and when necessary, ask for clarification. The next piece of advice that I have, and this is a big one, learn the shop and or trailer. What do I mean by that? Well, most companies, carpentry, home remodeling, whatever, have trailers, tool trailers, or vans, or whatever it is that are on the job site. Sometimes trailers are dropped on a job site and they are left there for the duration of the job. Sometimes they're bounced around from job to job depending on what's going on, the size of the company. There's many different factors that can go into that. But your job as the new guy is to run tools, material, whatever the case is, to the guys doing the work. If you go into the trailer and you have no idea where a certain thing is, and you're in there for 10 minutes doing circles.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
It's a problem, right? Learning where everything is inside that trailer is going to make your life a lot simpler. It's going to be very, very, very helpful to the guys that you're working with. And it's going to show that team that you have, that you are a team player, and that you give a shit about your job. Very important. Same thing with the shop. If you guys do prefab stuff somewhere, learning that shop top to bottom like the back of your hand is going to be very, very, very helpful. It speaks volumes about you and your character and your dedication to your job, and it tells the individuals that hired you that they made a good decision. Next, learn what each tool is and what it's used for. Tools have many different names, right? There's probably 5 different names for the same thing, depending on where you are in the country or in the world. And some guys call things one thing, and this guy over there calls it another. So the simplest example I can give you is a sawzall, right? You have one right here. This is commonly referred to as a sawzall, but it is not a sawzall. This is a reciprocating saw. A sawzall is made by Milwaukee. It's a brand-specific tool. It's the only company that makes a sawzall is Milwaukee. However, 99.9% of the time, a guy's going to say, grab me a sawzall, or go grab me the sawzall. And this is what he's talking about. He wants a reciprocating saw. That company might not even own one Milwaukee tool, but he's calling it a sawzall because that is its universal name. So, learn what each tool is and what it's used for. If you're being asked to make a cut on something and you know that that cut has to be accurate, this is not the tool for that job.
For fuck's sake.
What the fuck is going on in there? My goddamn TV just went up.
Chill the fuck out, Marguerite. It's probably just a breaker. No big deal. We'll fix it.
Can guys make very accurate cuts with these? Sure. But you, as a brand new individual, will not be able to make a satisfactory cut with a sawzall, nor should a sawzall be used to make cuts like that. There are more specific saws and things that are geared toward very fine, very accurate cuts. This is not one of them. So, learn what each tool is and what it's used for. Next piece of advice I have, and this is very, 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 very important, probably top of the list. Learn to read a tape measure. You have to know how to read a tape. If you can't read a tape, you can't take measurements, you can't make cuts. It's very simple. You have to know how to read a tape. Now, if you're concerned about not knowing how to read a tape, when you're shopping for your tape, there are manufacturers out there that make tape measures where every single individual hash mark is identified on the tape for you. 16th, 8th, quarter, they're all laid out. It's very simple. I wouldn't recommend learning how to read a tape that way, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. Whatever you got to do to get the job done. So if you don't know how to read a tape and you're struggling to learn how to read a tape, maybe that's a viable option for you. But you have to know how to use one of these things. This is the one of the lifelines, the lifeblood of construction is measuring things. It's just, you have to know how to read it. You have to know how to use it. Next, it's time to lean, it's time to clean. That's a big one, right? If you've got nothing to do, you better find something to do or go ask somebody for something to do. Do not be the guy who is playing on your phone, having a full-blown fucking argument with your girlfriend on a homeowner's front lawn, it's a bad look, and any company worth their salt is going to fire you like that.
Clean out your locker at the club, Bob. You're fucking fired!
You get caught doing dumb shit like that. So, it's time to lean, it's time to clean. Next is anticipating needs. Now, this is something that you're not going to be able to do right away, so don't put too much pressure on yourself, but it's something that's important. Your job as the laborer, as the new guy, is to run supplies, to run material, to run whatever, to the guys actually doing the work. So as you're making your rounds, right, to different individuals, notice what they're running low on, or just flat out ask them what they need. But as time goes on, you're going to notice that certain guys are running low on certain material that they need to keep doing their job. And you will, without having to be told, go and replenish those items. It just becomes part of what your daily routine. If it doesn't become part of your daily routine after, a month, 2 months, it's still not clicking, you really need to evaluate that, because that is your role, right? As a laborer is to clean up, is to run material, is to assist an extra set of hands when necessary. That is the scope of your role. So be the best you possibly can be at that, okay? Now, this is a great one for those of you who are looking to make a career out of carpentry, out of being a carpenter. I only have carpentry experience. I can't speak for electricians or HVAC techs or plumbers. I don't really know anything about it, but learn to be the best you possibly can be at the role you were hired to fulfill. Be the best laborer, be the best apprentice you possibly can, right? And then, this is the piece of advice coming now, ask to assist in tasks with a greater responsibility attached to them. But be careful. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't overwhelm yourself by doing things that you're not quite ready to do yet. But there will come a time where you want to move on from running tools, running materials, setting up and breaking down jobs. There's going to come a time where you want to move on from that. And the only way to really do that is to show people that you're motivated and that you're determined and that you actually give a fuck. Because a lot of these master carpenters, skilled guys, have honed this craft for decades. And they are not going to share that knowledge with some guy who couldn't give a fuck less. They just won't do it. But if you show them that you're committed and determined and driven, they will absolutely take you under their wing, and they will set you up to have a very, very, very prosperous, very fulfilling career. But you have to take the initiative. So, when the time is right and when you're comfortable, ask to assist in tasks with a greater responsibility attached to them. I'm telling you right now, if you don't do that and you don't take the initiative, you'll be sweeping fucking floors for the rest of your life. This one, I feel like it goes without saying, but then again, I've worked with some real winners over the years. Appropriate footwear and attire for the job. Now, I wear sneakers, wore sneakers to certain jobs, like finish work, cabinetry installations, and molding, and baseboard, and flooring. I would wear sneakers for those jobs. I'm not going to have a heavy-ass pair of boots on my feet putting up cabinets or laying down laminate flooring. I'm not going to do it. Framing, probably want to have a pair of boots on, just stuff like that, right? It's very common sense applies here. That being said, there is no time where it's appropriate for you to have a t-shirt on that says "My other ride is your mom," or a big fucking pot leaf on it, or whatever. You are representing the company. Doesn't matter if you're running trash out to a dumpster. It doesn't matter if you're smashing drywall out, doing demo. It doesn't matter. You're a representative of the company that hired you. And that type of attire, it's not a good look. There's not only the homeowner that hired you guys to do this job, but there's homeowners all around that are watching you guys work. Believe me when I tell you, you're being watched by everybody. And some of these people may be contemplating hiring you in that company to come work on their home. And I'm telling you right now, I can speak for myself personally. If I see a crew of guys across the street that are dressed like fucking bums, that take no pride in their appearance, take no pride in what they're doing, I am in no way going to hire them. I wouldn't buy a fucking hot dog from them, let alone have them in my home to do work. So think about that. You are the face of a company, so act accordingly and dress accordingly. And that will end this evening's video. This video was not intended for those who have been doing this type of work for some time now. I'm sure you found your own way. But for those of you who are considering getting into this, exploring this trade, hopefully you got something out of this video. I know that some of those pieces of advice that I shared with you, that were shared with me, were very, very beneficial for me and helped me out tremendously. So hopefully they help you as well. As always, guys, I really do appreciate you watching. There's a million videos that you could have clicked on. If you clicked on this one, it does mean a lot to me. So see you later.